The wind howled through the tall trees as Kai pushed deeper into the forest, leaves crunching beneath his boots. He'd wandered here 1,000 times before, but tonight something felt wrong. The air pulsed with an unnatural hum, like the world was holding its breath. Then he heard it, sharp, panicked cries unlike anything he'd known. Not animal. Not human. Something else entirely. Every instinct told him to turn back, but his feet kept moving, drawn by something he couldn't explain. Deeper into the trees, he followed the sounds until he spotted it, a small, trembling shape curled between twisted roots. It shimmered faintly under the moonlight, scales catching the light in shades of blue and violet. One wing was bent at an unnatural angle, its chest rising and falling with shallow, rapid breaths. Blood, dark, almost metallic, coated its side. Kai crouched, heart thudding. Whatever it was alive, and hurt. When he reached out, it hissed weakly, eyes wide with fear. Not the wild panic of an animal, but something sharper, like it understood pain too intimately. He whispered softly, words it couldn't understand but tones it could. His voice slowed. His hands steadied. He removed his jacket, wrapping the tiny creature carefully. It didn't fight. It just stared, unblinking, as if waiting to see what he would do. He carried it home under the cover of darkness, slipping past the house and into the shed at the far edge of the backyard. Inside, he laid it gently in a basket layered with towels. The creature curled tighter, shivering. Kai retrieved a flashlight, gauze, a bottle of antiseptic, and did what he could, clumsy but careful. As he worked, the creature never looked away. It didn't speak, but something in its gaze felt too knowing. Like it was trying to read him. Through the night, Kai stayed nearby. He didn't sleep. Every hour, he checked on it, offered small bits of water, and tried to understand what he'd found. As the sky turned pale with dawn, it stirred. Its head lifted, sluggish but aware. Then it did something he didn't expect. It reached out with one clawed limb, gently touching his hand. The contact wasn't just physical. A flood of emotions surged through him: confusion, fear, gratitude. It wasn't telepathy, not exactly. More like a projection of feeling. He gasped and stumbled back. The creature blinked slowly, then curled into sleep again. Kai sat down hard on the shed floor, heart racing. He didn't know what it was. But it was alive, intelligent, and very far from anything human. By mid-morning, the town was buzzing. Reports of strange lights in the sky. Static bursts that knocked out radios. Animals behaving oddly. Kai said nothing. While the world tried to explain, he kept his secret wrapped in towels and silence. Later that day, the creature moved again. It had eaten bits of egg he left for it, and though still weak, its eyes followed him constantly. When he opened the shed door for fresh air, it limped outside, careful but determined. It used one wing as a crutch, walking rather than flying. In the dirt, it began scratching shapes. Symbols. Patterns too precise to be random. Kai knelt beside them, watching. The creature paused, looking up, waiting. Then it scratched more. Lines intersected, forming something he recognized, a star, then a spiral, then what looked like a planet. A sequence. A map? No, a message. The realization hit like thunder. This wasn't an animal. This wasn't even just an alien. This was something advanced, far beyond what the world had prepared for. Kai looked at it, really looked. Beneath the alien features was something heartbreakingly familiar: loneliness. Pain. The need to trust someone, anyone. And it had chosen him. He glanced toward the sky, now calm, clouds drifting lazily. But his gut told him this wasn't over. If this creature came from somewhere, someone might come looking for it. Still, he didn't tell his parents. Didn't alert anyone. Deep down, he knew the world wasn't ready. Governments would dissect it. Scientists would cage it. And whatever secrets it carried would be stolen, exploited, destroyed. So he sat beside it as evening fell, whispering stories and sharing bread, watching its eyes flicker with something close to peace. For the first time, it leaned against him and sighed, smoke curling faintly from its nostrils. Kai didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But he had made a decision. Whatever this creature was, it would not be alone again. Not while he breathed. Not while he stood on this earth. By dawn, the creature was stronger. Its wounds had closed faster than they should have, and its body shimmered faintly with heat like coals beneath skin. It watched Kai move with precise attention, eyes never missing a step, as if studying him. When he spoke, it tilted its head and mimicked small sounds back. Not perfectly, but enough to prove it was learning. Mid-morning, the power flickered. Lights dimmed in his house, and every device gave off a low hum before returning to normal. Birds scattered. Dogs barked endlessly across the neighborhood. Kai's chest tightened with unease. Something was coming. He felt it in his bones. Outside, the sky darkened unnaturally. No clouds. Just a sudden shadow swallowing sunlight. A thundering pulse vibrated through the earth, and then silence. Kai stepped out, eyes wide. Above the trees, the air shimmered, and massive, iridescent shapes tore through the sky. Dragons? Dozens. Wings stretching wider than rooftops, bodies armored in obsidian and starlight. They descended without sound, their movements controlled, deliberate. Each landing sent soft shockwaves through the ground. Grass flattened. Trees bent. Nothing in human history had prepared anyone for this. Kai didn't run. Couldn't. He felt a presence in his mind before he heard a voice, calm, resonant, ancient. It wasn't speaking in words. It communicated with emotion, memory, and force. One dragon, far larger than the others, stepped forward. Its eyes glowed, not with fire, but with intelligence. "You touched one of ours," the voice echoed in his thoughts, smooth but heavy. "You altered its path." The small creature, now standing beside Kai, whimpered and limped forward. The larger dragons reacted immediately. Wings snapped open. Heads raised. But they didn't attack. They waited. Then, the elder dragon lowered its head. Not in threat. In acknowledgement. Kai stepped closer, uncertain. "I didn't mean harm," he said aloud, unsure if they understood. "I just helped." "You did more than help," the voice responded. "You showed restraint when others would dissect. Compassion when others would exploit. The youngling lives because of you." The silence stretched thick as the dragons observed him. Kai stood still, heart hammering. Finally, one moved. Then another. Then all of them. Slowly, they folded their wings and bent low, bowing, not to a ruler, but to an equal. The gesture wasn't just symbolic. It carried weight, reverence, and something else, respect earned, not demanded. For the first time in their ancient memory, they had witnessed an act of true, selfless protection from a lesser species. That changed everything. The town erupted in chaos. Emergency services scrambled. Black government vehicles arrived, soldiers disembarking in confusion and urgency. Jets roared overhead. But the dragons ignored all of it. Their attention remained solely on the boy. News spread fast. Phones recorded, drones hovered, but no one approached. No one dared. The dragons exuded raw authority that crushed curiosity into silence. The elder's voice returned to Kai's mind. "Our kind does not forget. You created a bond. It cannot be undone." Kai looked at the baby dragon, no longer frail, but not fully healed. It stood proudly, a small warrior among giants. The elder gestured to it. "Kari. That is its name. Its fate is now tied to yours." A wave of energy surged from the circle of dragons. The air crackled. Kai felt warmth on his chest. Looking down, he saw a mark, faint, golden, burning into his skin. Not pain. More like recognition. He had been marked, not as prey or pet, but as one who belonged. "You are now known to the Vykrn," the elder continued. "And through you, your world has entered the fold. They will come. Not for peace. Not for diplomacy. For what you protected." Kai asked. "Who will?" The answer came without hesitation. "Collectors. Hunters. Those who see life only as currency. They took Kari. failed to contain it. And now, they will seek to erase the failure, and the one who broke their chain. Kai's stomach twisted. He was just a kid. But even he understood what that meant. Something terrible was on its way. The dragons turned skyward. Their wings opened in perfect synchrony. But the elder remained. Our kind watched your species. Judged it irrelevant. Primitive. But you proved something no algorithm could predict, your kind's capacity to act against interest, to choose mercy over instinct. That is a strength few possess. Then, without fanfare, the dragons launched into the sky. Their departure rippled across the air like thunder. Only Kari remained crouched beside Kai, eyes locked on his. And the mark on his chest still pulsed. Whatever force ruled the stars had just taken notice of Earth, and it was all because a human boy chose to save a life instead of ignore it. The elder dragon returned at dusk, its wings folding with practiced ease as it lowered itself before Kai. Kari stood beside him, no longer hiding behind the boy but standing in front of him, almost guarding. The elder spoke directly into Kai's mind, this time not with emotion, but memory. In an instant, images and histories flashed through his thoughts. Planets scorched, fleets swallowed in flame, and a map of the stars far more vast than human science had ever imagined. The VKYRN were not beasts. They were one of the oldest intelligent species in the galaxy, once mistaken for gods. They rarely interfered with the younger species, choosing isolation. They lived by a singular law: those who harm their kind will be hunted, regardless of where they hide. Korea's capture was not an accident. It was an insult. A violation. And now, the galaxy would be reminded of that law. The Collectors weren't a myth. They were an intergalactic syndicate of powerful factions that stole, experimented, and sold living creatures to the highest bidder. Their reach was long, their power dangerous, and their morality non-existent. Earth, marked as non-essential, had been used as a drop zone for failed operations. That designation meant no one would look here. No one would care if something was lost. Kari was meant to die quietly on a forgotten planet. But something disrupted that plan, a boy who didn't look away. Kai listened, not with awe, but grim understanding. He asked why the dragons hadn't come sooner, why they hadn't protected their own. The elder answered without hesitation: they had been hunting the Collectors, unaware of where the trail ended. By the time they found Earth's coordinates, Kari had already been taken. When the signal was finally triggered, the youngling screamed from the woods. It broke through shields designed to hide him. That call reached only one frequency in the galaxy, the VKYRN's ancestral link. Kai asked if humanity was now in danger. The elder's answer was clear. Not all of Earth. Just him. The bond formed through touch and intention had marked him as guardian. Kari had accepted him, and by doing so, merged part of its essence with his. That act was irreversible. The elder extended one talon. It opened slightly, revealing dozens of scales, each pulsing faintly with heat and color. These were not ornaments. They were fragments of elder dragons, alive, conscious, and ancient. Each one carried memory, strength, and knowledge from their bearer. When given, they bound themselves to the recipient permanently. One by one, the dragons stepped forward. Each offered a single scale, pressing it to Kai's chest. They melted into his skin, vanishing without pain but leaving behind a strange warmth, and the echo of voices not his own. They weren't weapons. They were keys. When the final scale fused, the elder spoke. You are now recognized by the VKYRN. Through you, Earth holds a place in our lineage. If war comes to your soil, it will not be fought alone. Kai didn't ask for power. He didn't want it. But he understood its purpose. This wasn't ceremony. This was preparation. The dragons warned him, the Collectors never retreat. They erase mistakes. Korea's escape, his survival, was unacceptable. A bonded human? Even worse. Earth was now a variable, and the Collectors feared variables. They would send probes first, then drones, then hunters. Not armies, but surgical threats. No warning. No declaration. Just disappearance. Kai asked if the council would stop them. The elder laughed, not cruelly, but bitterly. The Galactic Council only moved when balance was threatened. Earth was too small, too isolated, too undeveloped to warrant intervention. They would watch, but not act. Unless Kai fell. Because now, his life was the tether between Earth and the VKYRN. Kari approached him, pressing its forehead gently against Kai's. A soft glow pulsed between them, and for a moment, their minds merged completely. Fear. Loyalty. Fire. Flight. The bond deepened. Kai saw through the dragon's memories, cages, pain, escape, and then saw himself, not as prey or protector, but as partner. The elder nodded. From this moment, your name exists in two worlds. Hide if you must. But understand, you will not be forgotten. The sky dimmed as the dragons ascended, leaving only Kari behind. The shed, the town, the forest, all felt smaller now. But Kai was no longer the same. Not because of the scales, or the dragons, or the fire beneath his skin. But because he knew what was coming. Not just a threat to him, but a test for what humanity might become. The first signs came silently. A network satellite blinked offline for 12 seconds before reconnecting with corrupted data loops. In major cities, encrypted defense systems registered anomalous signals, non-terrestrial in structure, mimicking natural patterns but carrying unnatural mass. Within hours, communication arrays on 3 continents failed. No announcements, no demands. Just silent infiltration. Kai felt it before anything reached the surface. The bonded scales on his chest pulsed erratically, their glow flickering like a warning beacon. Kari stood rigid beside him, wings trembling with tension. Without explanation, the young dragon led him to the edge of town, to an open stretch of earth where wind no longer felt natural. The air had weight, like something enormous pressed just beyond visibility. High above, something uncloaked. Not with sound or spectacle, but in brutal efficiency. A collector vessel, cold and lifeless in design, hovered without motion. Blacker than night, it absorbed light, casting no shadow. It was not made to communicate. It was made to extract. Human forces responded faster than expected. Within minutes, jets circled the skies. Ground units mobilized, not to attack, but to contain. This wasn't protocol, this was reaction. World leaders had been monitoring Earth's atmosphere for any shift. The moment Kai was marked, protocols buried under 20 years of secrecy had activated. An old satellite array in Alaska released a pulse. Subterranean bunkers beneath 4 major cities went into lockdown. Advanced drones designed for atmospheric anomalies were launched without public knowledge. The myth of human unpreparedness began to crack. The collector's ship released drones, sleek, near-invisible machines designed for quick capture and surgical abduction. Their target was precise, Kai. Not governments. Not infrastructure. Just one human child now carrying what they considered forbidden tech. But they miscalculated. Korea's roar split the air. It wasn't just noise, it triggered something in the scales, waking them. Kai's body radiated heat. His sight expanded momentarily. The bond activated. And from above, the dragons returned. They didn't come as guardians. They came as warnings. The collector's ship responded by launching containment fields, warping gravity and light. Human drones shorted out, jets lost tracking systems. But the dragons didn't rely on tech. Their force was ancient, biological, telepathic, driven by instinct sharpened over millennia. One dragon, 3 times the size of a military transport, slammed into the collector's drone cluster, scattering metal fragments across the sky. Another formed a barrier over Kai, wings spread, generating an electromagnetic pulse that reversed drone's signals mid-flight. Kai stood still, but his breath came in sharp bursts. His mind wasn't overwhelmed, it was connected. Not just to Kari, but to every dragon present. He didn't command them. He aligned with them. Every heartbeat translated into motion. Then came the second ship. Not above. Beneath. Buried within Earth's crust, it activated and rose silently, a hidden plant left years ago. It began anchoring beams into the soil, preparing to fracture terrain and erase local evidence. Before military forces could react, one of the scales on Kai's chest turned deep crimson. He dropped to one knee, and when he rose, his voice spoke with the echo of the VKYRN, resonant, impossible to ignore. You are not welcome. The buried ship's systems failed. No missile struck it. No code was entered. Something inside it simply collapsed, infected by a signal beyond its comprehension. Not human. Not dragon. A fusion. Kai had become something new. Not a soldier. Not a weapon. A signal flare of resistance. The military, initially on the defensive, now advanced. Ground teams recovered collector debris. Scientists began reverse engineering drone fragments before they finished cooling. No orders were given publicly, but human forces, independent and government alike, recognized a shift. Earth wasn't watching anymore. It was answering. The collector ships, calculating odds, adjusted. This was no longer a retrieval mission. It had turned into containment denial. Kai was now more dangerous alive than dead. One final drone descended, larger, sleeker, glowing with internal fire. Kari leapt into its path. The collision was brutal. Fire and metal exploded outward, and when the dust settled, the drone fell, its hull split from within. Kari limped back, scorched but breathing. The bond held. Then the final act began. The collector vessel activated an implosion drive, intent on erasing all evidence. The dragons rose as one. From their formation, a combined energy pulse erupted, not crafted, but born. It pierced the collector's shield, disabled its core, and left it hovering dead in the sky. A single dragon landed beside the wreck, exhaled a narrow stream of blue fire, and marked the ship with a symbol unknown to Earth but feared across galaxies. Do not return. The battle had ended before the world truly understood it began. Kai stood silent among the wreckage, not triumphant but resolved. Earth had been tested, and through him, had answered. The ruins of the collector vessel were still smoldering when the first council probes arrived. Unlike the collectors, they didn't come with weapons or stealth. They came to observe, to catalog, to determine if the incident had escalated beyond containment. Council protocol dictated neutrality. But what they found wasn't neutral ground. It was altered. The wreckage revealed more than an attack, it exposed a systemic breach. Within the fallen ship, Earth scientists uncovered frozen vaults, each containing biological samples from species marked extinct, stolen, or erased. Evidence of crimes the Council had long ignored. And in the center of it all was one undeniable fact: humanity was not only aware, it had resisted. Kai stood near the debris, silent as ever. The mark on his chest still burned faintly, a constant hum beneath his skin. Kari sat beside him, wings folded, breathing slow but steady. No more drones circled. No new threats had emerged. But the Council was no longer distant. They now hovered within Earth's orbit, watching. Delegates descended under heavy shielding. Their appearance drew no applause, only silence. Nations had already begun to coordinate in ways previously thought impossible. Communication lines between rival governments opened overnight. Information was shared, not sold. Something had shifted. Not in politics, in instinct. When the delegates confronted Kai, they spoke with the weight of ancient authority. Earth had violated its designated status. A non-aligned species had interfered in a galactic conflict. That, by council law, warranted inquiry, possibly sanction. Kai listened. Then, calmly, he answered, not with defiance, but clarity. He explained what the collectors had done. How they used Earth as a graveyard. How they discarded life as waste. And how they never expected resistance, because they assumed humans were incapable of seeing value beyond their own species. His words didn't echo like the dragons' voices had. They cut differently. They were human. Raw, unapologetic. The delegates tried to dismiss them as emotional, but the data didn't lie. Collector drives recovered from the wreck contained detailed logs of planetary exploitation, and among the records, the truth was irrefutable. Earth was not the aggressor. It was the collateral. Curie stepped forward, unblinking. The scars on its body were visible even to those without advanced sensors. One look at the young dragon said what reports could not. The bond had changed both sides. Not just in biology. In allegiance. The council deliberated in silence for 3 hours. No translation was shared. When they returned, their judgment wasn't proud. It was cautious. Earth was no longer to be classified as Category 0. Its inhabitants had demonstrated independent response to an intergalactic threat. They had preserved a high-value life form under stress, resisted advanced abduction, and contributed to the disabling of illegal vessels. Under new designation, Earth was now labeled a guardian world, a term reserved for species that had proven an instinct to protect rather than conquer. The title did not grant power. It granted warning. Guardian worlds were to be avoided unless approached with purpose. Violation would be seen as provocation. The dragons did not celebrate. They had no interest in politics. But they acknowledged the designation. Before the council left, the eldest dragon approached the delegates and burned a new seal into the ground beside the ship's ruins. A single mark, one understood across galaxies. Earth had been claimed, not as territory, but as respected ground. The council departed without further discussion. In the days that followed, Curie remained. The other dragons vanished into the skies again, seen only at night, their silhouettes drifting quietly above the clouds. News cycles struggled to keep pace. Some denied it all. Others wept in awe. But the ones who mattered, the young, the unnoticed, the overlooked, understood. Kai returned to his home. The shed still held scorch marks. His room remained untouched, though nothing inside it felt small anymore. He was never asked to explain. But something about him had changed. Teachers paused when speaking to him. Strangers sometimes recognized his face, unsure why. The scales no longer burned. They had gone quiet, waiting. Not dormant. Just resting. Curie followed him everywhere, unseen by most, flickering between presence and shadow. When it walked, the ground beneath it hummed faintly. When it breathed, its warmth could be felt through walls. One evening, as Kai stood in his backyard, he looked up. The stars seemed brighter. The silence around him deeper. He realized he wasn't being watched anymore. He was being remembered. Across the galaxy, stories were told, of a forgotten world, a broken chain, and a boy who refused to walk away. Not a warrior. Not a weapon. Just human. And that, in the end, was enough to change everything.